Welcome all. The new Australian government indicated right out of the gate that they plan to implement in full the Uluru Statement from the heart. This includes an Indigenous voice to Parliament, which would be enshrined in the Constitution, which means we need a constitutional change. While I feel that it's high time that this was considered, I see this as a much bigger opportunity to replace the Australian Constitution rather than amend it. And that will allow us to address quite a number of significant issues with the current Australian Constitution. These issues can include the Australian Head of State needs to be an Australian, needs to be elected by the people. We need to look at reforming the electoral system for the Senate. And in fact, the function of the Senate needs to be better defined. It's an opportunity to address electoral funding and minimise the chances of corruption in our electoral system. And it is an opportunity to clearly define our rights and responsibilities as Australian citizens and lock those rights and responsibilities into the Australian Constitution. All of this can be achieved if a new Constitution is drafted. My name is Brett Manning and I'm a trustee for the new Aussie Constitution Trust. For those of you who haven't followed these videos previously, new Aussie Constitution is a proposed draft replacement Australian Constitution. It's been developed outside of government and outside of political parties. Now, the new government has indicated that it intends to implement the Uluru Statement from the heart in full. In order to do that, it will require constitutional change. And that will require support of the Australian people. So it's probably a little misleading to say that the government will make these changes, because that will depend on whether they can secure the support of the Australian people. Now, I think there is support there, fairly broadly based, for an Indigenous voice to Parliament. But the model that's chosen and how that will operate is going to have a lot to do with whether it will pass at a referendum and whether the changes can be made to the Constitution. And it needs to be remembered that not only do you need a majority of Australians to support the changes, but you also need a majority in the majority of states. And that has proved to be a very difficult bar to pass in previous referendums in Australia. So whether the government can be successful at implementing constitutional change to provide an Indigenous voice to Parliament will depend very much on exactly what those changes say and what model is adopted. The new Aussie Constitution has, since it was released some 9 months ago, included an Indigenous voice to Parliament. Now, the new Aussie Constitution is a full, complete first draft. So Australians can see how it's meant to operate, what rights it will have in the text, and Australians can read that text and understand exactly how it will operate. But as with all things with the new Aussie Constitution, it is a draft, and it's a draft for discussion. And we would be happy to take comments and suggestions on the draft as it stands. While these issues are important, they're one of many that need to be addressed. For 120 years, we've operated off the same constitution, but we believe it's now time to bring that up to date, to make sure that we capture all the things that we currently do that work well and lock them down in the Constitution. And at the same time, it's an opportunity for those things that are not right about the Australian Constitution as it's currently drafted. It's an opportunity for these to be addressed. So I'd encourage all Australians to start thinking about what changes we need to the Australian Constitution. By all means, take a look at the draft New Aussie Constitution. It's available on our website for the New Aussie Constitution Trust. It's there for discussion, and we welcome any comments and your views. But we would encourage you to encourage the government to go further and look at replacing the Australian Constitution. Thank you for your time.